From sports to entertainment, we've got you covered.
Sports+Chicago starts right now. Embers in Lockport, and this is the start of the inaugural of our new show during the Bears season called Sports+Chicago. You will see it all season long on Comcast, and we'll let you know the channel and all that's what it's going to be. But we're all season long. We'll be doing nothing but Bears, talk Bears, Bears, Bears. We'll have players on, we'll have guests on, all season long. We're really looking forward to it. We're kicking off today, prior to the Bears season opener, which is coming up Sunday, tomorrow, against the Packers. Pleased to have with me all season long, former Bear. To my left is Alex Brown, number 96. Remember this guy? Yeah. And to my right, for this show, our inaugural show, how about the Hall of Famer, Mr. Dan Hampton? All right, let's start with the big guy, the Hall of Famer, because he's been around the league longer than any of us. Retired back in 1990? 80?
Yeah, 1990.
1990 was your final year.
Yeah.
First of all, nice to have you along. How things going for you nowadays?
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm doing great, Jeff, and it's great to be here in Lockport. I don't live too far, but I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with this fantastic restaurant establishment, and I hope to have many a good night watching the Chicago Bears right here at Embers.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You bet.
All right, let's talk about the current Bears, the situation that we look forward to starting tomorrow with those Packers. Your initial thoughts about this team, a new regime in, John Fox, just your overall thoughts about what we can expect, at least tomorrow.
Well, and, you know, I'll have to ask, you know, Alex, what did you think last year watching the team go into that death spiral and basically come up with two of the worst years in the history of the Chicago Bears, especially on the defensive side? You know, Alex and I have something in common. We both were starters at defensive end in the Super Bowl for the Chicago Bears.
Yes, sir.
And when you've been there and you have to watch what we watched last year,
right,
there's a big gap in between it, Alex. And you know what? Hey, look. We're on the right track. We've got what I would call a professional coach in John Fox.
Yep.
He's a two-time Super Bowl contender as a head coach. He's got his third try, and to me, it makes me understand one thing. Hey, you know, in life, you only get so many chances. He's got to be pinching himself, thinking, you know what? I had two runs at the Super Bowl. Maybe I can make another one. Maybe I can make one with a quarterback that has yet to achieve his, you know, what his expectations. But most importantly, you know, this is going to be a year of finding out exactly who we are as a football team, because after the last two, there's a lot of guys that want to go and hide. We're going to find out who wants to stand up and be counted.
Absolutely.
Alex, what do you? Very good.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are your takes on what you know? Just kind of expound on what Dan was talking about with this current situation, with the current Bears, the current John Fox as head coach. What do you think so far leading into the season?
Well, what I'm looking for is I want to see improvement. That's what I want to see. Watching the past couple of years, I mean, it's been really tough. Really tough watching defense not being able to stop anybody, offense not being consistently being able to score week in and week out, but actually seeing improvement. Don't get blown out against New England. Don't get blown out against Green Bay, where they're putting up 50 points.
Thanks for bringing it up. Put it out of my mind.
I'm just saying, like, don't get blew out in those. Be competitive in every game that you play. Even if we go 5-11 or 500 football team, if we're competitive in all those games, I think we're taking a step in the right direction. So it doesn't change overnight.
Right. All right, let's talk a little about the offense, Dan. We'll start with you. And it starts with the guy that calls the signals. Jay Cutler hasn't had a lot of success here since he came here. will things change now? New offensive coordinator and a new head coach. What do you expect out of him this year?
I like what you brought up right there at the end. Well, things change because he does have a new offensive coordinator. Adam Gase is the new the coordinator, and Adam Gase is a guy that spent the last 2 years tutoring a guy by the name of Peyton Manning. And when I talked to Adam about 3 months ago at an event down at Soldier Field, I said, you know, I'm curious. When you first met Jay Cutler, did you say, hey, Jay, I'm your new offensive coordinator? Or did you say, hey, sit down, shut up, and listen to me. I know what I'm doing. For the first time in your life, you're going to understand what it means to learn how to play quarterback.
Exactly.
And he assured me that that's what he's saying to Jay Cutler. And so far, so good. Now, here's the bad side of that coin. You know, you're only as good, you know, as a defensive lineman. If we got corners getting beat, you know,
nothing we can do.
Yeah, nothing. Well, the same thing. If you're a quarterback and you got receivers that are injured and have not went through practically anything to do with the 4 weeks of training camp, boy, you're going to be put behind the 8 ball. And all 4 of the top receivers, Kevin White out. That meant that Alshon Jeffrey and Eddie Royal would have been the starters. Well, both of those guys, Alshon hasn't practiced until yesterday, since the 11th of August, and Eddie Royal has missed the last 3 weeks with a hip issue. Not only that, but the 4th guy, Marquez Wilson, has a hamstring problem. So, yes, on one hand, Jay Cutler has to be the man. But on the other hand, he's got to be able to count on some healthy receivers, which we haven't had. But more importantly, what Adam Gase told me, he says, listen, you know, everybody wants to talk about Jay Cutler and the receivers. He says, I want to talk about running the ball with Matt Forte.
Thank you.
And if we do, then all that other stuff will fall into place.
That's exactly where I was going to go with you on this right here. If you don't have the receivers, aren't you going to lean on Matt Forte and that offensive line to give Jay those play action passes moments where now the receivers are one-on-one as opposed to them playing a zone back there? So I think they have to lean on Forte for sure.
Well, and you know what, and one thing that, and Alex, when you guys were pretty good, you could run the ball.
You hear that? You hear that? You hear that?
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying one particular year. I'm just saying when you're pretty good,
All right.
you can count on certain things.
Yes, sir.
You know, I was so fortunate we could count on a guy, Walter Payton. We could always run the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we got a pass rush, then we got pretty good. Same thing with you guys.
Yes,
you
sir.
guys could run the ball, and you had a good pass rush. Back in '06, when you went to the Super Bowl. Back when we went. Well, if we learned anything through the preseason, it's, hey, guess what? We can run the ball.
Yes.
We averaged over 165 yards the first 2 games. That actually meant something. But more importantly, a bunch of the young people on the front 7 started showing they can rush the passer. You know, Pernell McPhee, Sam Acho, Jared Allen. He's saying he's going to be as good as ever. Not only that, but Willie Young. Lamar Houston, very interesting case. We all know him, and he'll live in infamy last year when he tore his knee up, you know, celebrating the only sack he had all year. I know. You can't make this stuff up. But I talked to Richard Dent the other day, and he's been working with Lamar, and he said he looks better than he's looked in the last year. And I've got to tell you, the last game, he looked better to me than he's looked. So we're going to be able to run the ball. We're going to be able to rush the passer. Now we got to kind of hope some of the other kids fall into place. And who knows? We may shock the world tomorrow against the Green Bay Packers.
Sticking with the defense, I know that the secondary is beat up. The injuries, Mundy's out for the season. You bring in the veteran Antrell Roll, and you got a rookie in there starting as well in Amos. What do you see with that defensive secondary, especially against a guy like Aaron Rodgers in the first game?
Hey, you really want to know? I like it a lot better than anything Chris Conte's done in the last 3 years.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God. Don't make me think about that either. You know, let me just say this. Kyle Fuller needs to kind of grow up and become the player that he was drafted to be, okay?
Yep.
You know, guess what? Kyle Long grew up and became the player we expected and hoped him to be. Now we need the other Kyle to grow up and become the player. Now, if we can do that, The other side, I'm not worried about. You know, Alan Ball, Tracy Porter, they're more physical, they're bigger, stronger corners. That's why, you know, Keith Jennings was a good player, but he was basically, you know, a zone guy, you know, back pocket cover guy that, you know, they're not, you know, Vic Fangio isn't going to play a lot of that style. He's going to say, we're going to get a rush, we're going to get up and bang on you and make quarterbacks make decisions. It's going to be, you're going to like it, folks. I'm telling you, it's going to get better. It's going to get better in a hurry. But is it a perfect secondary? We got a rookie starting, but guess what? The rookie's, you know, a 215-pound banger from Penn State. You know, everybody I've ever met from Penn State wanted to hit you. So I'm just saying, you know, Antro Roll, he's made a number of Pro Bowls. There's a lot of reasons to believe. Everybody's got question marks about it. I'm saying, hey, this could be something we could build on, you know, pretty early. And again, anything without Conti in it, I'm really